Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, listeners. It's Mr. 𝗁𝗵𝗏 𝗁𝗏 coming back on Facebook Live. Today is Tuesday, the 12th of April 2022. The time just gone 27 minutes past 3 in the afternoon in Birmingham, England. If you just bear me a minute, let me share this video so that we can start the program. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are going to try and analyze the parliamentary elections. Unfortunately, I wanted to do some detailed analysis based on numbers, but IEC have not got around on uploading the official results, and I don't want to take the risk of taking numbers which are just been floating around. I've seen different numbers been floating around. I can't just rely on these numbers exclusively. There's some numbers I might rely on, but not just to pick up other numbers. What I wanted to do would have been easier if it was uploaded on the IEC website to do a comparisons properly. But there are many ways we measure. And I want us to measure in that way. And when we do that, we look at the reasons behind certain things, the lower voter turnout, and how we are represented, and what we expect to come out from this parliament for this parliament, and what does it tell of our politics anyway? That's another thing. How are our political party evolving? Rest of the political parties, where they are now, and what the future would be. We try and do that as well. We ask ourselves the winners and losers, and when we look at these things, yes, we can look at political parties rivalry and say that who are the winners or losers, but the winners should be Gambia, the losers should be Gambians, because the importance of parliamentary representation. The winners should be Gambians, the losers should be Gambians. If we look at it in the specs of which political party gain much, what benefit does that do to Gambians? That's where we should look at. What benefit does particular political party winning the amount of parliamentarians sits in parliament? What does that do on us? That's where the winners and losers should be. But regardless, it's politics. We will look at some angles. The importance of looking at those angles is again the importance of elections or voting and political party representations. These are things we need to accept too, that they are important institutions, and to vote is an important element of our civil duties in order to prosper, to progress. You see, leaders only become arrogant when they are not accountable. Leaders only fail when they are not accountable. That's why when people belong to political party and refuse to accept views that are different from their own view, refuse to accept their political party leader be hold accountable, what they are doing is they are making their political party leaders unaccountable. What they're doing is at the end they will be arrogant and they will fail because of they are not being held accountable. It's the same when we have leaders, regardless where level it is, especially to the executive level. Why is it especially to the executive level? The power is given to the executive in a presidential system. You know, some countries, presidents don't have real power. But in our case, he's got absolute, technically absolute power. Because of the power of executive he has, that's why he has the means to even corrupt the, and take control of parliament. That's how much power we give him. That's how much power we give him. That's why it's important to measure this win based on what quality of people we have there, the integrity of people. Yes, we can caricature so many MPs that are not able to express themselves, which is wrong. This should be the best of people that can represent us, to articulate. But it's pointless having people that can articulate but don't have the integrity to do the right thing. Those who can articulate but don't have the interest of the people, all they do is sit on partisan positions. They don't find any other way of coming together in order to effect change. That's what they're there for. When we go separately to form political parties, to elect representatives, what we are saying that as people, we are going through a system to pick the best among ourselves in terms of measuring the integrity, in terms of measuring their capacity in order to effect. Because what they do reflect on us. What they do, that's what impacts on us as a nation, as society. Then we can have our rivalry, going to the polls, and push and pull is part of democracy. But the minute we cross that line and decide to accept a victory or someone coming out of that process as our representative for Bakau, Serekunda, Bundung, Basse, Buyam, anywhere else, what we should be looking at now, the respect given to a parliamentarian, the expectations given to a parliamentarian, and themselves to look at each other as colleagues who are tasked to uplift the people. That's where the winner and losers will be measured. If not, the people lose. If they do it right, the people win. But when we look at things and say, did we have what we deserve? I know some people said proof of the pudding is in the eating. But again, you can tell when things are not likely to go right. And this point, leadership will come out of this. This point, sincerity will come out of this. Again, until we think as people that what we do should be to the interest of the people, there are times that even it might look as a political party interest, but if the interest of that political party is not to the greater good, it has deceived its purpose. And if people think, oh, but that's what politics is, no. That's not what politics is. That's what politics is been made out of. Politics is to do things right. Politics is to get the best outcomes for people. Politics is not about lying. Politics is about not being ruthless. No, those are the bad things. You know, just like when people quote Machiavelli, I think they misrepresent what Machiavelli is saying. Machiavelli is not teaching people to do that. Machiavelli is educating people to understand, to recognize. This is what people do. But it's what you choose to do with that. These are facts. We should not settle with its politics. No, that's not what politics is. That's not what democracy is. We choose the systems based on our belief that they are the best out of what we have out there. We don't want to settle with a monarchy. We don't want to settle with any dictatorship. We want to settle with a democracy that have check and balances in order to hold ourselves accountable. And that means our leaders as well. So that the system will work. Then if we turn around to say that we will behave in a certain way, then we are going against the principles of democracy. We are going against the point, the value that we hold. Why we go, why we fight, why our people lose their lives, and everything else to make sure we have what we call democracy. Now, that democracy is not something we eat. It's not something we take to the hospital. But it's not something we take to the schools. But I'll tell you, it's the system that should make us have that, food to eat. In what way? By that representations, by bringing the policies, by making sure the resources, everything else are done right. So that accountability and so on. That schools will be better, that roads will be built in the right places, but not these are things. And the country will prosper, our sovereignty will be defended, and so on. That's where it comes out. That's why we go, that's why we elect our representatives. But we always point out failure. But that's the saying, to whom much is given, much is expected from. The failure for our progress should not be blamed onto the people. It should be blamed onto the leaders. And if I say that the failure of our people or the failure of our country should not be blamed to the people, but to the leaders, yes, the leaders are part of the people. What I mean, and if I say leaders, I am not pointing to President Barrow alone. I am not pointing to politicians alone. I am pointing to leaders across the board. And for those, I said that for much is given are those privileged few, the privileged minority within us. Some of us who have the privilege to able to read and write, have the privilege to travel, have the privilege to have an education, to have the privilege to able to acquire certain able to meet some of our needs or most of our needs. Yes, there's a level of privilege we have from where we are. And much is expected, and one of those things is leadership. Leadership is not something we just ask our people to make us. Leadership is something we step up and do. We step up and do leadership. When we talk about leadership, I know we look at, oh yes, let's go on to be elected. No. We even take up leadership to make sure we elect the right person. We take up leadership to educate the people. That's the most important part of leadership. People that we influence, people that come to us, people that engage us. We keep a honest discussion with them try to educate them, to take away prejudice, not to nurture prejudice. Yes, we all have prejudice, we have biases. But what makes us better is when we are aware of our prejudice, when we are aware of our biases, and try to make sure this does not impact on the greater good. This does not destabilize society as it should be. The education does not stop at the school. This education is not only what we learn in the classrooms. It's what influences the people. My education was not what I acquired in the classrooms. It's what I acquired from the environment I was brought up. From the environment I was brought up. Be in the way I see tribe, be the way I see every other thing. My father, 𝗪𝗿 𝗪𝗏, was a Mandinka. 𝗪𝗵𝗲 𝗪𝗵𝗲 was my father's, most admired grade. Because, again, environment. My father grew up, or 𝗪𝗵𝗲 grew up with my father in 𝗵𝗿𝗹𝗶. My father is bound to cherish what he heard most, what he had memories of most. My mom was conservative. The only time I know that my mom had an ear for music was when my nephews were taken for circumcisions, and she heard some fuller vibes. That's the only time I have witnessed my mom to dance once. She's so conservative. I've never seen my mom dance. But something came out. When music she knew, she could not help it. At that age, yes, I saw her dance. I never knew she would. Environment counts. Because of the 𝗵𝗿𝗆 𝗁𝗵𝗲 I came from, informed me of my ears of music is diverse. Because I was living next to where the sabar was being beat. Where the sabar was being beat. That's in the center. As kids, we were the one who would arrange the chairs. The abdumbulums, the saluba, nyalni, every other bit. To the extent of even taking part. Because environment. And that's why we expect that people, environment would influence who they are. That's why we should make sure we sanitize the environment we are. That's why I say we have responsibilities as privileged people who travel, who are educated, who can take care of certain needs. Because poverty affects people not only because they can, this affect their mindset, their behavior. But with education, that's how they will get out of the poverty. Because that education will make them to vote even for the right people, not based on any other thing, but for being able to identify the leaders that should be. And for that education too would make them want to sacrifice, to ensure that what they voted for would stand. That is for to be represented, that they will not become unfool and move away. The absence of that leadership from the privilege, what we should call a Gambian intelligence here. You see, the most disappointing people are educated Gambians, not the average Gambian. The most damage is done by educated Gambians, and not only educated Westernly, even Arab, in Islamically. or Arabically. Because what they do all gravitate towards bad leaders, because of they want to accelerate their growth to get to what? To acquire wealth. And in that sense, they use that influence against their people instead of use that influence for their people. I will tell you what, all those people enabling or had enabled before, the time of Jawara, time of dictatorship and everything, and you see, once you have bad intents, you lose control of what you are capable of. The same bad people or like people like that enable the bad side of what happened in Jawara's time. Yes, people were not picked up to be killed or anything. But the same people were able, because of their selfishness, to do the same thing where people have been murdered. Their own families will be murdered. Their own parents will be disgraced. But they will still run behind them. What do you think? What do you think? If a person that we respect in our community come and praise an evil person, yes, the average person did not see anything beyond this that society, that leader within their community. They think that what 𝗵𝗿𝗺𝗺, we have trust in 𝗵𝗿𝗺𝗺. Then if 𝗵𝗿𝗺𝗺 said that Adama is a good person, then we think that Adama is a good person. When 𝗵𝗿𝗺𝗺 come and say that, because we trust 𝗵𝗿𝗺𝗺, if 𝗵𝗿𝗺𝗺 come and say that 𝗵𝗺𝗺 should be this, we will trust that 𝗵𝗺𝗺 should be that. Because 𝗵𝗿𝗺𝗺 is representing the interest of 𝗵𝗺𝗺. Just ask any other person. I'm just taking the example for me. But no, 𝗵𝗿𝗺𝗺 is saying that 𝗵𝗺𝗺 should be this. Not because of the interest of 𝗵𝗺𝗺, it's for his own interest. Because what 𝗵𝗿𝗺𝗺 is saying cannot be. We cannot prosper when we are divided. It's plain out there in our national anthem. The same is captured in the national pledge. We should live by this. This national anthem is not something to be sang. It's not the melody. It's not the rhyme, whatever you call it. It's not a poem. The same thing, the same person, 𝗵𝗿𝗺𝗺 would be well off materially, because he's empty, I know, but well off materially. But the people, community he belongs, go and look at that community. Go and look at the community in Bakau, and go and look at the people from Bakau that goes and champion for Bakau. Go and look at the community in Banjul and see the people that come out to champion. Go and look at the community from Foni, community from Badibo, wherever. What do they champion? For their own good. And go and see where they live. They don't even live within those communities anymore. They don't care about the communities. They don't even visit the communities until they have a need in that community. But the doers, those are the people we identify as doers. What about the people that fold their hands? They are equally bad. They are equally bad. And they have the same responsibility for the poverty that in that country. They have responsibility for any human rights abuses in that country. They have responsibility for the loss of sovereignty of that country. They have responsibility for anything that's bad in that country. And if they have participated for anything that's good, yes, they will be celebrated. There's no country on this world, or society or community that have ever prospered where leaders were not identified and celebrated before the people. China today, they say they credit even the horrible things that Chairman Mao did with the Cultural Revolution. What the following leaders did with the leap forward and everything else is credited to the leaders before to identify the Chinese people. For what have happened in Japan after the Second World War. What have happened in Germany after the Second World War. Leaders were identified. for what have happened in Malaysia, what have happened in Singapore. Leaders are edified before the people, before the Singaporeans. You think the people would just have been progressive if there was no leadership? And I mean, not only the national leader or the president. No, the affluent people, the privileged people within society doing the right thing, being truthful, and nurturing and educating people so that we vote for the right people. But when we start to label everything as with colors of what? Tribe, and try to distort and go after any other person that speaks something different, it might not even be right, as someone hustling, or someone who is ungrateful, or someone who is angry. Because that's one thing they come with, why it's so angry with this government. I have a reason to be angry with this government. The same way I was angry with the Jawara government, as a young person, growing up, being angry with the Jawara government. And the same way I stood against the Jammeh government, that's the same way, because of the condition our people have not changed, and it's not likely, it's not looking to change. That's my responsibility. If I didn't do that, I failed my duty. We have duties as citizens, we have duties as human beings, wherever we are, to make that society better. Especially when we have the privilege. When what we do, that's what should be. And we should need to take leadership in order to inform the people. The tribalism, we all belong on tribes. But I'll tell you what, again, the tribalism we talk about, especially in Africa, it's always been engineered by two things. Religious beliefs, which we'll take as ideological beliefs, because of that's what we hold most. The second is resources. The conflict and everything is resources. I don't want to go far into that, but give you examples. Colonization. Give you examples. The wars we even fought among ourselves. If you look at every African, and especially these generations of Africans, and see how diverse they are, especially a Gambian, how diverse they are, you find many tribes that made him. The reason I have Sware as my surname is not. My surname is Jallo. There's a reason there. Because I belong to Jahankas. I belong to Jalunkas in my history. I belong to Jolas in my history. I have grandparents who are Jola. You see, again, if we look at the wars that have been fought, even let's look at, let's say the 𝗏𝗏 War and everything else. It was nothing about tribe. It was about religion. Religion. But that thing was settled. And settled in the most progressive ways. You be to think of what we have done to each other due to certain influences or for ideology belief or religious belief. It was never against tribal beliefs. It was never that Mandinkas are better than Fulas or Fulas are better than Mandinkas. It was because of we thought the religion we hold is better than the religion we found. And we have the whatever secret duty to raise jihad on people. As other people said, we believe in our deities and our ancestral beliefs to the end, we are going to protect that. But today, we have the Sydney Covenant within us. Between Fulas and Jolas, between Fulas and Seres and Jolas, Kabunkas and Fulas and everything. That we scared of if we even have pride in our, tribes, as we are tribal people, it's bound to happen. But as I said, the more you get exposed, even, it's not that your tribal pride become less, but you become so accommodating that your identity becomes very fluid to the music you listen to, other things. Because, as I said, I grew up with the Kora in my household. On evenings when 𝗔𝗍𝘆𝘀𝗶𝗵 𝗁𝗍𝗆 will just come and just start playing strings, and people will congregate. And she would be with the sister. And we go with that thing. When the Sabbath, the Tama would be next door, to this thing. When, during my circumcision, every tradition during my circumcision was Wolof. I have my bottom bar, I have my selbe, I have my bar, I have my samba soho. Nothing was in Fula. Everything was in Wolof. Because of where I grew up. How can I not cherish that? That's my memory. It makes me a better person. To the extent of opening up to enjoy strings. I love the guitar. From my exposure to music at the early age, when Super Eagles was, playing the strings of, the Beatles, and so on, from there on, and all others, makes me better. Then we should understand when people behave certain ways, we understand it's because of their lack of exposure. The more we expose, we are, you see. But again, we might travel. We might travel the length and the breadth of the country, or outside the country everywhere else, and still be prejudiced because of it's built in us. That's why when we have this privilege, we should share. And that would have bring about change. And that would have ensured people would not struggle to have elected leaders who represent them. Because the change would come when people are aware and able to vote and every other process. But now what politics is in Africa, not Gambia, it's not unique to Gambia, it's about getting, and it's been going for a while. And the Mandinkas have voted for it. The Wolof have Sanil Mama Ginla, politics, Sanil Mama Ginla, because that's what we take it to be. Why politics is progressive in other places? No, it's seen as a very important system. And representation is something and hold dearly. If we find you to be corrupt, we are get you out. If you lie to us, we find out that you lie, we are getting you out. You are impeached. We can even separate your private life, but when your private life comes into public, we are going to hit you with it. And if you look at it, that's what Islam tells you. But where is that practice? It's in the West. Where is that practice? It's in the West. But no. That's why I said our religious leaders will tell us you should not challenge authority. You should not challenge, you should not hold them accountable because of they've been appointed by Allah. That was a lie. They will not tell you what Allah said or what the Prophet Muhammad said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said about holding them accountable or doing the right things. No. They say that's where the problem is. Us, the privilege, because of this, plus, and so on. We move on to that. And I said this is not unique to us. Gambia is everywhere. And Senegal is an example. But again, when you have progressive, you see, progressive doesn't mean that they are completely, perfect. There's no perfect thing. It's what progressive do is to give an alternative. To be an anti-establishment, anti the status quo. What is here, try to get something. It will help. Because if you have that opposition, what it does is makes the status quo, you hold them accountable. They'll try to do something right. But if the status quo are able to neutralize any opposition, and we sit down and look at it and leave the things with them, we never progress. In the case of, we have seen what Macky Sall have tried to achieve. He have now completely dismantled an opposition and kept the status quo as it is, and the resemblance of opposition in getting them a slice of the cake. Now, if Senegal did not have a progressive in the sense of positive, I'm not going to even say Ousmane Sonko. Yes, Ousmane Sonko as a leader will be credited. You think if people like Ousmane Sonko did not come out from the thing and speak, and we know he's not even a perfect being. He's not even a perfect being. The minute his private life came out, the public domain has been discussed. He tried to portray himself perfect. But what is, why even the people are standing with him? You see, if the Senegalese government were smart, just to go out there to expose his hypocrisy in going to massage parlors. We all know what men go to massage parlors for. It's not for no other therapy apart from releasing attention. Immorally, whatever you call it. If you are married, it's immoral. If you are not even married, it might be immoral because of its exploitation. And we don't expect our leaders to go and exploit men or women in anyhow. They should be beyond that. If they only have exposed him going in, and having a woman come out to say that, yeah, I give him massage and I know that he enjoy himself. Not even to say he have sex with them. That would have finished him. But the minute the people seen that this establishment want to damage him, they came out and give their life to protect him. They are not protecting him. They are protecting themselves, knowing that if Usman falls, no one else will stand. And those protecting Usman, they're not protecting him of tribe. They're not protecting him of anything else. It does not mean that Usman will be the president of Senegal. But he is a catalyst of change. When you take position of leadership, it's not whether you're going to be the president. It's whether you can effect change. You can hold a government accountable. You can hold the system accountable. And in that process, you might be the president. In that process, you might be the MP. In the process, you might be something else. The satisfaction is you have done your citizenship duties. In the process of that, you are appointed, elected, and anything else, you have a greater responsibility. Now you have a mandate. Yes, you have a mandate before as a citizen to do something, a duty unto you as a protected citizen to do. It would not have happened. Usman Sonko, if Usman Sonko vanished, you see, what happens is the positive. Not only positive came out, the other movement came out and joined the positive. Because before positive, it was Y'en a marre. The same Y'en a marre that was a catalyst, that stood with Macky Sall to ensure Macky Sall came from an outsider to become the next leader. Outsider, I mean, from the coming from the inside of the establishment to being an outsider in the anti-establishment to become the leader of the anti-establishment. It was because the catalyst of Y'en a marre. If Y'en a marre did not have stood up as a civil society and agitate, Macky Sall would not have been. But they become the first casualty by going to attack the accounts of Y'en a marre to say that they are receiving sponsors from foreign things. And we know that civil society cannot survive vibrantly, I mean, without sponsorship from other organizations. And that's the same thing he wanted to do with Positive. And you see that standing up, whatever motivations Sonko might have, aspirations Sonko might have, which is right. Look, you should aspire to be anything. But one thing is, it galvanized. And it made it possible for people that are completely different from the establishment to come out as candidates and won. Macky Sall, brother himself, lost. With all the money pump, all the monopoly he has, power and everything, lost. Because of people came out and took leadership in order to bring about change. You don't have to belong to political parties to do that. It's your citizen's duty. If it is to synthesize your household, your neighborhood, the people you have influence on, you are doing that change. Then they will go out and decide and know how to select leaders. To make sure they are even selected. To ensure even the right people are selected. You see, voting is even at the latter part of things. If you end up having four people of the same character, what's the point of even voting? Because if you don't encourage the politics, engagement and everything, good leaders will not come out to be selected or even put themselves to be selected. Dama taxaw fi dëkk politique bi nu mal nim politico kata ñamen jan ama nten na do ko la bulala ngana lo jang president non parti le ba win president bi parti bi moy win fi boy politique ko top politique opportunism da nga bay sa liggéey ñew fi boy do win because nit ñi duñ la déglu ama ku joxe saaku maalo la ñew top because we don't do our job. That's what Yanama did. The Senegal today is better off because of they have an opposition. I'm not saying the tradition, they have an alternative. And that alternative came from privileged people. Youths who are within the capitals. Youths who are within the capitals. Women who are within the capitals. Because they go and, what do you call it? They deceive the rest of the population. That's why you saw the results you saw in Senegal. You see, you have TV presenters, you have activists, you have everything else becoming, councillors. And if I have time, I'll explain the importance of becoming a councillor for aspiring politicians. They become councillors. Some become mayors. And now that's changing the dynamics. They were able to hold things account. They were able to hold the system account. But they stood up against that injustice. Well, that was meant for Sonko, not to protect Sonko, but to protect a system. Because Sonko became part of that system. Because they knew that now this is not about Sonko breaking a law. It's not about Sonko abusing another woman in a sexual way. Yes, it might be an abuse of power, the power dynamics of being a president candidate representative and going to a massage parlor where girls are exploited. That should be the narrative. Sonko would have been finished now. Sonko would have been finished. But no. They took a big hammer, claw hammer, to crack a nut. Sonko is not big without the people. The minute they took the claw hammer, the people have to come and said, no, this is just a nut. We know what the nut, why you guys want to crack this nut. Let's move on to the numbers. As I said, it's unfortunate. We haven't got official numbers from the website. I wanted to take something from the website and work something out with it. But again, I know people say, that's why I started, said that winner and losers should be Gambia. Winner and losers should be Gambia. If we win, we said, oh, we won. Should be Gambia having a good representative. Proof of the pudding is in the eating, but we can assess to see the quality of people that we have. Assess it based on not only that they can articulate themselves, it's good. That's definitely we need in Parliament, because it's a debate where you go and have debate, where you can compare, you can understand. We need that. We should not say that, yeah, but English is not a local language. That's a lie. English is not our language. Yes, it's not, but it's the transactional language. That's what we write our legislations on. That's what we put our budgets on. That's what we, represent us as an administration. It's English. Until we manage, or say, but we should not even encourage everybody to speak where these things. No. It's another problem. What about people, if I come and speak Fuller, and what about people that understand Fuller and this thing? We need translation for all that. Until we are able to get our people to look, let's go for competency. Now, people will look at, NPP lost based on what? UDP won based on what? UDP lost based on what? NRP, APRC, GDC, whatever it is, based on what? We should look at the basis of this. And the basis of this, again, people said, oh, NPP never had a seat before. They came the first time, 18 seats. You see, that's what political pundits do. That's where you represent numbers. So, okay, look at the number in this, put it in percentage. If you put it in percentage, it will look good. Don't put it directly. Now, if we look at things, and someone said, oh, this thing have never happened. And the reason, it is very important to find out the factors, what led us to this. If we need that political education to help us and understand why these elections were important. Just as I said, we talk about the importance of, we'll touch more on it, on the parliament, what parliament represents, accountability. I mean, this democracy is based on that check and balance, separation of powers. Now, when we look at parliamentary, they say parliamentary normally have lower voter turnout. Yes, but there are factors that makes that, or at times it's different. The last parliamentary elections, the voter turnout wasn't low. The reason was it was competitive, because political parties want to consolidate, because they all came through a coalition of political parties. Now they are going separate ways. Some goes with tactical alliance, whatever, but they want to consolidate so that in the future they will have something to hold on. When they are separate ways, it was competitive. The turnout was better than normal. The reason that all the presidential elections, all the parliamentary elections, voter turnout happens. We'll look at that as well. But to look at the seats, to measure the seats, they said, let me see, someone, I had something here. To look at the seats, to say that NPP have 18, UDP have 15, NRP 4, APRC 2, No Alliance 5, PDIS 2. Now to say that who won or who did not. In this sense, our comparison should be based on the presidential elections. These are the last figures we have. And how do we look at that? We should look at the total votes that these political parties have achieved. The total votes that President Barrow's party have achieved. Total vote the UDP have achieved. Total votes the GDC have achieved, because they were the three big parties the last time in the presidential elections, 1, 2, 3. Then you take the PDIS, SFL, and every other independence and everything and put it as a slot as orders. You have four in a table. If you put those, you'll understand how much they achieved and what percentage it's represented in the presidential elections votes on the voter turnout, and what was the percentage of voter turnout. Then you use the same system, because we are looking at Gambian voting. How did they vote? Now you look at the same thing. Put all the votes for NPP in this parliament elections, total them, what percentage they represent. The same thing to the UDP, the same thing to GDC, the same thing to, what do you call it, GDC, the same thing, take PDIS, the independence and everything, put them on one shot, orders. That's orders, because they are smaller margin. You put them together in order to be able to see the table right. If you do that, then numbers wise, you will start to see a difference. You start to see a difference. And people who want to, this is for people who want to just have an education because of their politicians, or they aspire to go into politics to have an understanding of elections. That's just one day to do. I was going to do it this morning. Unfortunately, ISA did not make it easy for me. I didn't have time to go through everything, and I might be going into figures that are not right. I want to use the official, it did not happen. But if you look at it, it's interesting that you can do the comparisons and look at the margins and the percentages. You can see a big discrepancy. And a party it affects most is NPP. And the question goes, that's why people that turn around to say, wow, NPP lost, this is the rationality. behind it to say NPP lost for what they had before and now. I'll come to this argument later again, when about on turnout. I'm not going to touch on turnout. I'm touching on turnout later. But we understand too, if you look at it, because I've not looked at it, it's just, what do you call it? Just scan it through. Look at the numbers. There are areas that UDP have less votes, and that can be rationalized too, because of UDP supporters might have thought that there's no point going to vote because of they believe that election was rigged. There's no point of me dissing, and this do happen, and they will not turn out to vote. That might have affected them. When we come to turnout, we talk about again the reason why presidential elections have higher turnout and parliamentary not. But why again too is not at times different because of the competitiveness of the elections. We'll look at that. When we compare these numbers, we see the discrepancy. But again, when we realize that in parliamentary elections, there are other dynamics that we will look at when we look at turnouts, the candidate, and in small places, and we'll see when we look at the votes, you can see areas that PDIS have won their seats. You see two things there. Serekunda where they have one seat. What that Serekunda means is where Halifa Sallah was, and look at the votes they have there. I think in the presidency, Halifa Sallah have about 3,000 something, but in this time they have 2,007 and they won. Yes, it was a good candidate because he was a councillor in the area, but again the votes were split. The votes were split into independents. Now that split vote affected the margin of PDIS and of winning the place. But why NPP did not win? That's the interesting bit. Because of, if you look at the margin, that NPP lost. That's it. It was, they were in thousands. You see, that's why I needed the numbers. I'll tell you how much thousands NPP had there. And they just, what's responsible for this? We will look at some factors. Were those factors enough? Which of the factors have greater impact? That's how we look. Which factor have a greater impact in this? We'll look at that. But this this explains another thing, that the lack of voter turnout would normally affect the opposition, not the president, because in parliamentary too, political opportunism. Because of the incumbent have already mobilized all the resources. He's got all the resources. He's the incumbent. He have won. Now, these elections, as we see it, it's not going to change anything. Now, why bother to vote for the opposition? Opposition will not change anything from parliament. That's what they believe. President win the better. And the MPs, they come to campaign. The opposition have used all their resources in the presidency. They have no resources to mobilize and so on. But that too will learn from that, how important it is to understand your resource, what your resources are. Now, we come to understanding that this is the outcome of the elections. We have to accept this is the outcome we accept. It's accepted, that's the outcome of it. Now, there's something we said, you work with what you have. We have this notion that we don't expect Parliament to do any good. I know the reason why, but should we not try to change that when we know the reason why it happens? That's what we should do as leaders. As I said, leaders again, people, us. You see, the system stays because the system is not being challenged. System stays because the system is not being challenged. If we just say, oh, that's the system change. There's no system that have changed by that just through evolution. No, evolution would occur, but the system will have to be challenged. Evolution is a natural process of challenging these things. That evolution is the youth generation coming up. But if the youth generation are disaffected and not step up to challenge the status quo, the youth population get affected and they just follow the status quo. Dama buga teki. Dama dem top a political party bo hamne moy nek government. Political opportunism. But when we educate our people to make them understand the importance of this parliament, to make sure them believe that this parliament can work, regardless of what we produce now, we can see how we work with this to make it better. That will start to bring that change. Now, how do we do that? That's where leadership comes in again. And as I said, whom more is given, more is expected. I talked about that in the notion of as people, privileged people, we can do a lot. And still we can do a lot in the sense. But again, in Parliament itself, UDP as the leader of the opposition. Why am I doing this? Sorry. UDP as it's a fact. UDP as the leader of the opposition. That's what we have in parliamentary in Parliament. Should take leadership of bringing the opposition together and to genuinely advance the interests of the people. And if they do that, they will not only be the winners, but Gambia will be the winners. Because the people will recognize their leadership, and obviously there's a leverage in parliamentary elections. If they fail to take the privilege or call it what they work for and end up winning a majority, leading the opposition, if they fail to lead the opposition, they are not serving as an alternative. You see, they can be looked at as part of the status quo, part of the establishment, but if they act as an alternative, then they will reap the reward of acting as an alternative. If they show their leadership by being inclusive through the way they come up with legislation, active, proactive, work together, vote together, they would reap the reward, but Gambia would reap the reward. And that leadership would show people that they are capable of leading the nation together. In that process, the system would be held accountable. President Barrow will be less arrogant, because I said he is arrogant already. We'll talk about that another day. But we'll be less arrogant because of the fear. Because the arrogance is because of he believes that he's insulated from the people. He have monopolized the people. He have the power of incumbency. The power of incumbency is on the people. The people give you that power. People can withdraw that power. It's just a contract. But if he believes that he can get away with it, he would. Because it's not built in him a nature of being humble, a nature of being sincere, a nature of being righteous to do the right thing. If you are sincere, you don't look at your back. If someone watching me before I do the right thing, it's your inner conscience that burns in you to tell you to be disgraced in you that I don't want to be seen like this. I don't want to be seen like this. And then but he doesn't have it. Then they will hold the system accountable. Again, much to who is much is given, much is expected. But again, whichever political party or representative, independence, even a single person can make a difference. It's not about, in this sense again, it's about accountability. It's about standing up, challenging. For instance, if an independent I'm taking the name of Tumanjai because it's one of the independent I can remember. I know there's another guy, Ablan Jai, I'm not sure, but in Banjul, and there are a few other independents, other places. But let's say Tumanjai, which are independent, I can remember. If Tumanjai as an independent take up position of leadership and be proactive in bringing things together, it will be evident among his colleagues, among her colleagues, that Tuma is consulting. Tuma is, trying to pipe things together. Tuma is trying to progress legislations. Tuma is debating. When Tuma comes out and debate on issues and matters, people would draw this thing to say, no. She might not belong to my party, but she deserves my vote. If she decided to join a political party, if she decided to form a political party, whatever it is, that's leverage she would take from the parliament. If she decided to run as an independent mayor of Banjul, that's a leverage that she can take. But if Tuma comes in and did not, and she would suffer. That's why even being as independent can make a difference. And if she does right, we, the people, will benefit. You see, it's not the people of Banjul South only will benefit. The nation will benefit. That's what parliament is. Yes, she is selected from a constituency, but once she go into the parliament, she's not only representing Banjul South, but she is representing that institutions as parliament. When she talk about legislations on women's rights or anything, it's for women all over the country and the world for that matter. Wherever women are liberated, it impact on every other woman. Should impact on every other woman. If she talk about holding accountability of the budget, it's not talking about the budget money that goes to Banjul South alone. It's the budget that's been used somewhere else. And imagine that an individual person, parliamentarian, can have that impact. What about parliamentarian that came out from a political structure, party? PDOIS 2 candidates can have an impact. Now, if PDOIS come out with progressive, proposing legislations or this thing, and UDP have 15 and decided not, what will happen? The credit would go to PDOIS. That's how things work. That's why I said, if we go on to looking at the greater good, how we create it, I'll tell you, we'll have an impact onto this government. We'll have an impact onto this government, and in the future, it will be a leverage that will bring about that change. The system have to be, we should not just despair to say that, oh, most of them cannot articulate themselves, or most of them are not honest. Yes, we can see that. And even the MPs with Barrow, we have seen the quality of MPs that he deliberately went for a purpose. Now, if we challenge the system, things that we need to deliver, that will come to things we need to deliver. What are the important things now? Democratization, budgeting, accountability, budget allocations, and the impact, social mobility. Now, if we look at it that way, now we take position of leadership as an opposition. As an opposition, be the number of opposition. If something is not passed, and the reason it's not passed being articulated well, the government would now have to do something to make sure they pass something that can be agreed upon. That's just how you call them accountable. Because they don't have the numbers just to do as they wish. That's what they wanted. If they had the numbers they wish, I'll tell you, they would just do anything they want. But that's not possible now. If any MP sell their soul, let them, and let the people react on that. You see, that reaction of the people, if it continues, that's again a part of an achievement of bringing about change. Or if you cross carpet and go to government because of this, you will lose your next seat, even if you end up being a government-sponsored candidate, just as we've seen in the past elections. That would send us something to this thing. You have to be seen to perform. Accountability. We have to be seen to be performing in parliament. As a political structure, as a party, we have to see you guys be acting with position of leadership. This would improve our elections. Our programs. Now, the democratization, the constitution. To bring back the constitution. We spend a lot of money in it. As there's no constitution, we're all going to agree on everything. But not a constitution that we have to agree on because of that's what the president wants. Then that is decision. The last time, it's not because of different people disagree on something. That's why we asked it to come for a vote. That's what we asked for. If the people have voted for it, that's what the process asked for. Democracy. Then, yeah, 𝗵𝗿𝗏 might not like the Sharia, this thing, 𝗵𝗏𝗏 might not like this, 𝗵𝗏𝗏 might like this. Who is 𝗵𝗏𝗏? But the people agreed on that we should pass it. If the people said we shouldn't pass it, then we go back to the drawing board to see where to bring it back. But why we are denied that is because of the president was not happy. He was not happy because of he wanted to self-perpetuate himself to power. He was not happy because he wants to maintain all the executive powers that he will just abuse. That's what it was all about. They went on to push certain agendas, dividing us on secularism, dividing us on everything. But we knew it was not about that. They don't care about that. If they care about Sharia, these people, if they live under Sharia law, they will all be dead. Because they are thieves, they are liars. You will hack every part of them until they die. They are not just leaders. They would have been overthrown in a Sharia context. It was because of they don't run. Now, the democratization will come in a sense of the constitution to be picked up. The committees would have worked to bring out legislations that we need to take out legislations from the system that are archaic, that are not needed. Things like that would happen. Rule of law would be the same. Accountability would ensure. The budget would be debated properly and looked at and refused to pass it on. The scandals we hear would be these things. The sectors, these sectors would work better. The president can be reprimanded for coming to speak irresponsibly. It will work. Accountability will work. And the allocations of budget management will help, and inflation will be controlled. Redistribution reallocation of the budget to where it's needed in the productive sector would happen. Would happen. If not, the budget would not be passed. You have the powers to stop that. You have the numbers now to stop that. Then that's a win for Gambians. That's a win for Gambians. But until we are progressive, again, as I said, us privileged can continue to push the opposition together, to act together in parliament to serve the purpose of the common good, the greater good. Then we all become winners. And the systems will be held accountable. Then social mobility will ensure. This social, what guarantees social mobility? Education. Jobs. We need education. Imagine if we have spent this amount of money we spend on whatever they do into skills for the youth. Imagine if the money spent other places was spent on agriculture properly. Imagine accountability was in agriculture. Because yes, they're spending some money in agriculture. Fertilizer, what happened to the fertilizer? The same political structures will loot the fertilizer through the minister and others and take it away. But it starts from President Barrow down because of from fertilizer contract and everything will not done right. But if we have a parliament, that thing will not happen because they'll be held accountable. The police will be held accountable to make sure they do what they're supposed to do. They'll prosecute the case. The AG chambers will hold accountable to make sure they prosecute. Now agriculture will be better off. Then obviously social mobility would be impacted. Just as education, money would be distributed in the right places. Imagine we sat down to hear government have not been paying for their contribution for the exams fee. You see, these things, we can still get something out of this. But if we say that this is the norm and we sit down, that will happen. We should not. It's our duty. There's not stating like of, it's part of what we should do. Yes, we should balance it, time we spend with our family, time we spend with this, time we spend with it. But look, if we are not spending time in working in other ways, look, I'm not talking about doing your job, and contributing to the greater good. Yes, I am a teacher, I'm contributing to greater good. You've been paid to do that. I am a nurse, I'm not saying you're paid enough to do that. But that's what you are paid and agreed to do for that job. I'm talking of the extra we do. Mentoring a child, mentoring a girl child, mentoring a boy. The extra we do, organizing youths, football things, organizing girls, all the things we do, because all this help in the process of educating them to be responsible, educating to be responsive, educating to do things. We need all this. Now, let's move on to the voter turnout. When we move on to the voter turnout, there are many factors. There are many factors. And one of the factors advanced would be Ramadan. Oh, it's Ramadan. People are so tired to do it. Yes, some people might be. Some people might be, but how much did Ramadan affect? We don't know. But probably if we had organized ourselves, we could have assessed these things. If we have organized ourselves, we will have avoided the elections to be in Ramadan, or if it's if there's a rule, law that affect these things, we could have even galvanized our people to ensure they come out and vote. How long does it take to this thing? They would know the importance of coming out to vote. You see, we should not even leave that to this thing, and I don't see that much happening with civil society even trying to get people to vote, come out to vote, or political parties. The only people that really mobilized was NPP. We see them, they went on a tour. The whole political rallies, they mobilized, and then their results should not be affected by Ramadan. Their results should not be affected by Ramadan. It should affect the others, but should not, because they galvanize this. 2. Normally, again, we said the turnout in parliament is always different from presidential, which is true. But at times, due to circumstances, again, other factors might make it competitive, and the turnout will be different. And we have seen that in our elections where the voter turnouts are different, and you can attribute that to, as I said, if we had time, we could now look at the statistics to say, well, okay, that year this is what happened, this year that's what happened. Some people are saying, oh, but opposition have gained certain seats in 1960 something. Exactly, that's why the results are. In the 1960s up to 1982, what we have was parliamentary system of representation. We only vote for parliamentarians. We don't vote for presidential. We don't have presidential system. Jawara would be a parliamentary. Would be in Gunjur or somewhere as a seat, or Barajali, and everybody else will run. And if PPP gets so much seats, they will become the president. If UP gets so much seats, they would become the prime minister before, then the president. That's why you cannot use that, comparisons to now. From 1982, when Jawara put himself on a presidential to stand as a president to be voted for, and the Sheriff Deba to be voted for, Hassan Musa Kamara to be voted for, opposition to be voted for, it became different. Now then we have parliamentary and presidential votes. then you look at it. I think I am, if I can remember, around 82 elections and 1992 elections. 1982, I mean, the elections in the time of Jawara, after 1982, I think everything was on the same day. Everything was on the same day. They vote the same. Whilst you vote one for, they give you two, you drop one for presidents and one for parliament, your parliamentary representative. And for instance, Bakau, Jawara will win in Bakau, but NCP, Dembo by force will win. You see? That was to gauge the popularity of the president. This was the reason. After the coup, they said, look, let's check how popular the president himself is. Let's put the president on the ballot, not only to win by parliament. The outcome would be different. Another thing is, the voter turnout can be affected due to the standard of living, price rises. And this should affect, thank you, Jerry said, yeah, it was the same day. Yeah, Jerry, thank you very much. Jerry confirmed that we used to vote elections on the same day, president from 1982 onwards up to the coup d'etat, the same day. And it's better because what it does is resource-wise for the opposition. And again, yeah, we'll discuss that another time. I just don't have the thoughts here, but I know I'll prefer it that way. But the other effect would be price rises and so on, which should affect the government party, NPP, but galvanize the opposition. But because of the opposition did not have the resources, what they term as resources, yes, I'll do the term as resources because money is only termed as resources, did not go out to campaign, or because of the opposition gave up in a sense. Most of their mobilizers also thought, look, the election was already rigged, or there's no point going here, the president already won everything, he's going to win everything. That behavior or attitude might have impacted that the opposition, if not even benefit from the low voter turnout. That's why in most cases, in parliamentary election, low voter turnout is, or elections for that matter, is the incumbent that benefits. That's why this one, we'll have a look at it. Why then? Why then the NPP did not benefit? And why, in fact, the areas they did not win? Areas they have won overwhelmingly, they did not win. We'll have a look at that. The price rises might impact, but how much did it impact? If I look at it from my point of view, this is my opinion, it did not benefit either. It should have impact on NPP, but it did not impact on NPP because of the opposition did not take the opportunity and campaign on it properly. Yes, they might say these things on voice notes, but not on the ground. We're not seeing that mobilization because they did not do the mobilization for the exact reasons I said. The other advance were voter turnout was the disapproval of the UDP at the presidential elections. Anybody but UDP. Now, if you vote for anybody else, I mean, you are empowering the UDP. That had happened in the presidential elections, that people said, look, I vote for Barbara because I don't want the UDP to win. We know that happened. How much we don't know. How much of that these people decided now to vote for an independent candidate or decided not to vote. Independent candidates have benefited on this. Independent candidates have benefited on this because we don't know how much it is. We can say that to UDP might have benefited from it because of these people did not vote for Barrow this time around. They went and vote for opposition. That's how I see that. But the main thing I believe, Ben Swari believe, That is the reason for the low voter turnout. It's two things. The main, main. I accept the other factors. I cannot tell, I can't tell you exactly how it affects or how much it affects. But the main reasons are two for me. Foreigner voting. People who are not supposed to vote on our register, election register to vote. That's the main reason. And I'm going to go into this. That's the main reason. And the other thing I want to take up first is the reality. I think because of the foreigners did not come out and vote, I'm not saying that some foreigners did not vote. I think they still participated. I think they still participated in these elections. But not as they did that brought out 90% turnout. They did not. Now, the other bit I want to address first before going into the foreigner things is the actual reality of the elections representation. If you see, and again, that's why I said, if this parliament goes into government, if the parliamentarians acted right and proactive, if political parties are proactive and work together, not work against each other for the greater good, holding IEC accountable, and so that we have a free and fair elections should be one of their targets. Because what Gambians should understand is, when we have a fraud like this in a system, makes the president arrogant, make the political party arrogant, make them complacent. They would disregard you because you don't vote for them. You are not the one that keep them in power. Then the only way they get out of power is when people rise up and get them out of power. Coup d'etat and others. That's how it happened. You see, I'll give you an example. When Jawara had a system which was not free and fair. Yes, you have to understand the word free and fair. When Jawara had a system that was not free and fair, we did not have an independent electoral commission. What we have was the Ministry of Local Government, who is appointed by Jawara and who can be dismissed by Jawara without a vote. The minister and the ministry be responsible for what? Election supervision. Yes, it was fairer than we had from 𝗵𝗵𝗃 to now, but it was not totally fair. Because there were people who were appointed and political, appointed by Jawara. But another thing is, the power of incumbency being abused by the PPP, from the Alcalo, Imamo, and everything else. The power of incumbency being abused by using the resources of the state. Yes, it happened. Not to the level it subsequently happened in other places, but the example was set in the PPP regime. What it did was, and the system of political opportunism, that's where it started. That UP, United Party of PNJ, was competitive. But what happened is, Jawara decided to change the PPP from the People Protectorate Party, fine, which is progressive, but what he did was allow the cross carpet of MPs from UP to PPP. And what it did was just to pull the carpet underneath PNJ. And people thought, oh, PNJ, I don't want to say some of the things used against PNJ. That's why if people today stand up to say, politics of insults started today. If you know the political insults that happened in the First Republic, I would not even want to repeat it in Ramadan. And coming from the ruling government party. You see, that was not free and fair. The resources, patronage, a whole bank, commercial bank was bankrupt by PPP. But who were having these things? Patrons, business people. The whole bank was bankrupt. Commercial and Development Bank that would have gone to support Gambians entrepreneurship, capital. Very progressive. But what happened? Yai companies. Scholarship board was monopolized. Yai companies and their family. You see, it wasn't fair. Now, what happened is political opportunism started then. If you are in the opposition, you won't get anything. If you run as an opposition, you won't get anything. But what it did was, people not to believe that elections would take out this government. And this government decided, look, we do anything we want because the opposition cannot take us out. If they try, they will have 5, 6 to 7. 7 is the most the entire opposition will have. And if you hear independent in parliament, means that a candidate that want to run for PPP did not allow him, then he will run independent in order to later come and join the PPP because of the gravy train is on the PPP. PPP was the gravy train. They control they were the train drivers. What did it do to us? Accountability failed. And we had the coup d'etat. That's the reason. Complacency happened and corruption just spiraled. Customs, bombshell, 10 custom commissioners dismiss. They will dismiss them and they go with their loot. Directors, bombshell, ports, 20 million missing. Nothing will come out of it. They will retire them. They go out with their loot. Nobody will be prosecuted. Commission of inquiry set. Nothing comes out of it. In fact, the people that set the commission end up being the victim, far from by and others. You see, these things are not new. These things are not new. That's why in order to understand the importance of parliamentary elections, or elections for that matter, it helps us. That's why the independence of our elections should be this thing. It's not about our personalities. You see, the lack of independence, the free and fair elections in Jawara, because of that. Not only that, registering of foreigners did not start with Yaya Jammeh. It started with Jawara's government, but the difference are two. It was not institutionalized as Yaya Jammeh did, and now Barrow is trying to do. The reason I say trying to do, this parliamentary elections should have consolidated it. Now, the parliamentary elections fail because they don't have the competence to deliver it. They only deliver it because of the opposition was not proactive. When people like me came out, pointed it out, I come to that. In Jawar's time, it was different. It was not institutionalized. Institutionalized means embedded in everything that the government does, from the security sector to everything, to be complicit in this. The political bureau of PPP, in fact, running it. No. It was interest groups. Because you have to remember when it started, because of the, I say before 1982, it was running before 1982. Before 1982, what you have was, you have to be, unlikely, in fact, after 1982, you have to be, apart from the Ministry of Justice, and I think finance. I'm not sure about finance. The only person that would not be elected member of parliament was Minister of Justice. I'm not sure whether the Minister of Finance was meant to be elected. I know 𝗁𝗵𝗄 𝗣𝗿𝗺 became finance. I'm not sure whether he was a parliamentarian then. But people that might remember or know will tell us. I will keep an eye on that. I want to know, in the Jawara days, First Republic, do you have to be an MP to be finance minister? I know some MPs, some finance ministers were MPs, like 𝗁𝗵𝗄 𝗣𝗿𝗺 was a finance minister and MP. But was it a rule? I know for justice, you don't have to be an MP. You just have to meet the requirement, qualifications as a lawyer and so on. Now, the voter registration was happening because of some consequences. MPs see the need to get help by registering foreigners in order for them to win. It was not large, it was not big, but it happened. I know the people. I've seen them. We know them. And Serekunda was one. Then I don't think we don't have Serekunda East or West. It was Serekunda. OJ Jallow. Serekunda is, yeah. I'm not listening again. From OJ Jallow and others participated in this. Tumanna. You see, there were certain distinct, MC Cham and others, there were certain. I'll tell you to the Tumanna himself. Tumanna, in fact, the MC Cham used to even recruit boys from Banjul to go to Tumanna to intimidate the opposition. To intimidate the opposition. When his rival, because because parliamentary, what happens is parliamentary have a tribal kind of especially in the rural area, so your candidature can be affected because of tribe. Because Tumanna had enclaves of Sarahulis and so on. I don't know how it's drawn now, but the way it was drawn, you have enclaves of Sarahulis as well. And now the MP who was the candidate who was opposing MC Cham was Memba Tambedu. And he was very competitive. It was one of the competitive players because Memba Tambedu from his Sarahole background was supporting him. And in 1982, I think, or after the 82 elections, 88 elections or something like that, MC Cham lost that because of proactiveness of the Memba Tambedu. Proactive member who won that seat. MC lost that seat because these were the systems that MC used to win that seat. He would use intimidating tactics, take boys from the urban area, go out there, intimidate the voters, certain villages that would be this thing, they'll not turn out to vote, or register some people from the Basse community who are of foreign this thing and did not regularize their status to vote. It happened. It happened. Probably it was less than 10% of the vote, but still it impacted on our elections for certain MPs to guarantee. You see, OJ Jallow was benefiting from this people that came from Casamance. There were a catchment of people that come from Casamance to settle in the Gambia to do seasonal work. And he had good relations from that. He built good relations from that, and they used to register and vote. And go and ask Gambia, they said free Gambia Chinese starting vote. Chinese starting vote. It happened. It was not institutionalized. When Yaya Jammeh came, it became institutionalized. Yaya Jammeh needed it. Because of, again, there's an aspect of our elections, and not only Gambia. Even dictators, they need pop-up. And dictators, when they need pop-up, they put a mechanism. How they put a mechanism? There is a reflection of tribe. And that's why dictators can be seen as very inclusive in their governance. People that represent them, no. They are very good at, it serves them. In a sense, Hosni Mubarak. You see Hosni Mubarak, the way he was inclusive by, including the Christians, which is right. In his government, in his administration, in these things. But he knows that if he does that, he'll be protected against the other groups that are opposed to him, based on his Sunni background or other things, backgrounds he has, tribal backgrounds. Gaddafi did the same thing. Saddam Hussein did the same thing. They would do that to be inclusive. They bring, being religion, being tribe, because they come from minorities. They will do that. In democracy, it should not happen. I just left the fluidity of democracy and people educate them to vote according to what. That's not the reality here. It will still, because we are people of tribe, this will reflect on what we do. And elections. Yaya Jammeh had to do that. And obviously, that's how he entrenched himself. And he became arrogant. And he had his genes. That was his genes. Gambians vote for me or not. I am guaranteed 300,000 votes. And let's, again, the importance of accountability comes in. I know in many sense as human beings we want to win an argument, because of we disagree with the next person, but we don't look at what the argument is about. Is it about the greater good? Is it about accountability? No, we just want to win. Even if we turn out to see the evidence or facts, we will refuse to accept it. Because of, if I accept it, my opponent would be the winner. It's not against your opponent. He's your opponent in this case because of you are going through a process to get, and that process you're going through is the outcome to create a greater good, for things to get better. Yes, you might believe that your candidate is better. He believes the same thing. That's what democracy is, and bring it together. But end of the day, you want a candidate that will go and represent the interests of the nation. Then, if you have a candidate in parliament that's not representing the nation, that's no point. You haven't won anything, because what the candidate does in parliament affects the nation, the progress of the nation or the stability of the nation. Now, when we look at that and understand something, if you look at the population of the Gambia, 2 million, and I've shared with many people, and I've made a program on this. Looking at the document, and this is how �ᵗ𝗵𝗲 was. This is how �ᵗ𝗵𝗲 was. Voted out. That's the only reason �ᵗ𝗵𝗲 left. Lose the vote. He left because of we stood and make sure he left. He was arrogant, thinking that he have monopolized the system now. Just as PPP use many elements of the power of incumbents to stay in power, and they become complacent. �ᵗ𝗵𝗲 become complacent, thinking that he got it deal. Now, I love elections. This election comes, I'll beat them whatever the case. I don't have to deliver much to Gambians. I just have to be, center of power, and hold on to the power, and things will be done, because nobody would dare not do what I want. I appoint them as IEC, I appoint them as police commissioners, I appoint them as this. If they don't do it, I come after them. And they know that. And I appoint them as chief alcalde, because, you know, our 1997 constitutions was amended so that he would retain the power of, by virtue of the executive, the local government minister have the powers to appoint this chief of alcaldes. Now he regained that power again. Now if I even lose elections in your area, I might say I'm not happy with you, and this alcalde 𝗍𝗶𝗆 not only be removed from office, but they will be maltreated, and they will say, oh, they don't want to be having problems. They make sure 𝗂𝗗𝗔 will win and accept anything that goes. And this went on. The police officers and everybody else was scared of their lives, and they would do the right thing. It went on. And if you look at the population of the Gambia, 2 million, and you look at her eligibility, and that 2 million is not only Gambians who are eligible to vote. This includes foreigners who are not eligible to vote. This includes children who are under 18. And if you look at the population growth, you have to look at the population of the growth of the Gambia. It's not based on, the last time I checked, 5.something% was migration. It was not based on birth. Yes, there's a birth was part of it. How many people were born in the Gambia, but we know the mortality rate as well. But migration, and you can see the evidence. The extensive report included all this. You can see the evidence, and you can see the catchment areas that have developed, and based on the evolution of our population due to migration. If you look at from the destabilization in West Africa, from Sierra Leone to Liberia, communities, you see the migration of Nigerians to Gambia, and now you go to certain parts in Latikuna, you go to certain part in New Yundum, catchment areas, you can see evidence. You can see the evidence in the activities they contribute in our business. You can see the evidence of this growth of migrants. And in most cases, people from those countries in West Africa, because they, even if they are represented in our population, they are represented as a minority. Like a Sierra Leonean might feel a little bit alienated unless he is inside Banjul, that he can feel belonging because of he have representation there, or around certain parts of circular. If not, if he's in certain areas, he would feel alienated because he might be Christian, it's a Muslim-dominated area, he might not speak their languages and so on, he speaks Aku, Creole and other things, it's not the same. He might feel alienated. That person will have more need to regularize his stay. And they are educated as well. Or if they're not educated, they are aware of need. They will likely to regularize their stay. Because some of these people come temporarily. They used to come temporarily, be teachers or something, and they go make a little bit of money, or these things, and they move on. I mean, they force the public to get some of them to get access to certain things. They move on. But others become, I mean, see the opportunities in the country, and they took that opportunity to come and be part of developing the country by taking part in this. They're very entrepreneurial. They hardly get into anything wrong. I mean, they try to do things right. They will see the need to regularize, they regularize. But most people from the Senegal, from the Guinea-Conakry, Guinea-Bissau, and others would not see the need. They come in there, they're either Fullers, Wolof, Mandinkas, whatever, they integrate. But integrate means they are comfortable. They melt into this thing. But something happened later. Two things happen later. What happened later is communication. Now these people are so much in touch with where they come from because of WhatsApp and everything, video messaging and everything. They are less integrated. They are more of clusters within this thing before they easily melt out. The other thing is communication, transportation. Now it's easier to reach to certain things. They can travel there frequently. You see, their need for integration, I mean, they're not integrated well. In Europe, one of the measures of giving you residence is to assess how much you integrate. And now they have done this, you have to do a test and stuff like that. And when you apply, even they check how long. That's why in their questionnaire, they check your travel. Since you reside in the country, UK, how many times did you travel outside the UK? And where did you travel to? They don't want to do it openly. Now, you said you traveled outside the country 10 times, but all those 10 times I traveled to the Gambia. They will assess that to say that he has too much ties in the Gambia. Because you apply on compassionate ground or other grounds that you are integrated in the society and you want to regularize yourself. But in this case, they travel more often. I mean, now because they can reach them easily, or someone have died in the village, they can go. Someone's ceremony, they can go, and so on. But the other thing happened is, be it Senegal, be it Guinea-Conakry, I think Guinea-Bissau, now vote, their diaspora vote. Now, they are even in the Gambia, now they vote, participate in their elections. They are less integrated. Now, they are continuing their loyalty to their country of origin, not the host country. Because if they were not participating and all these factors were not part of it, they easily integrate more. And especially when they have children, their children integrate more because they see themselves Gambian more and everything else. But because of these realities now, it's not happening. And the evidence are there that the population expansion in the country, especially in the urban area, is due to migration. The other thing is affecting us is the back way. When I did the report, I looked at the IMO and other organizations' report on Gambia migration. They tell you how certain villages or towns in Badibu and other places, the statistics are there, and how much of Gambians have left to migrate. And these people capture only the back way, not even people migrating through the proper channels. They're just through the back way. And I've not got the figures here, but the document, I did a program on that to tell you that our population, yes, might even grow, but the amount of Gambians within the Gambia are less because they are going, age of 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20. They're traveling out of the country. You go everywhere in Agadez, even any program you watch about migration in Zimbabwe, you will hear, a Gambian been interviewed, or Gambian here or there. It's just how much, and we are from a small country. And if you look at the chart, Gambia is one of the, apart from Eritrea, Gambia was one of the biggest migrant per population. Imagine the population of Gambia, and we are not in war. But that was it. The population of Gambia, obviously, realistically, was not, of Gambians who are eligible to vote, would not be what is it today. Would not be what is today. Now, to say that from Jammeh time, that Jammeh took that opportunity. Now, he able to register 300,000 voters, illegal. This is from these studies, plus from intelligence work and admission by people that know about the system within the APRC, admitting, look, no opposition can win this. We got this. They were arrogant to tell us, we got this. And now we understand what Jammeh mean by his genes. To the extent of knowing the people who were entrusted to do certain transactions with this. From there on, and where this voter cards and everything was kept and everything else, that's how we managed to bond the APRC Bureau and get that out. And Yahya Jammeh did not realize, because they reassure him that the voter cards were not affected. It was kept safe because they did not tell him no. And God helped us that he did not ask for evidence. That's why after the voter elections, Yahya Jammeh asked for the 300,000 votes. When Yahya Jammeh came out and his petition and asked for 300,000 absent votes, or 300,000 are absent, people that we work with tell us that how did you guys just have this right? Yahya Jammeh came out with the same number. I don't want to call out names, but people that know. 300,000 votes. Before the petition. We talked about people, before the election, we told people, go to the elections. If you just come together, we'll have chance of winning because of, these things, it's not in presence. The other thing was the help with the Senegalese intelligence. Many people were stopped from crossing the borders. Because, again, we located areas that people were traveling to come to the Gambia in order to vote. Because at the last minute, because of they cocked up and the voter cards were they were trying to register, trying to get people to vote, but we stopped them. Some voter cards were made by this IEC, but because of these people were not allowed to travel to come, the borders were closed and so on, they did not get to vote. Now, the interesting about that is if we agree on, I know some, just a minute, if we agree on that Yahya Jammeh was using illegal things, I'm not looking for agreement from everybody. I'm just having a dialogue for people to benefit from, because we proved it. It's there. We have the absence of 300,000 votes, and Yahya Jammeh came out looking for those 300,000 votes and wrote a petition to the Supreme Court, which has not been heard. Then the parliamentary election came in. We see the impact of the parliamentary elections, the absence of these 300,000 votes. Then the local government came in. We see the absence of the 300,000 votes in the local government elections. Go and look at the figures. Go and look at the figures. We see the absence of these 300,000 votes. Both last parliamentary elections was competitive because UDP was trying to entrench their lead, trying to get the seats in parliament. The same thing happened Other political parties want to get in there to secure seats. Go and look at the campaign. GDC were active. They went against UDP. And PDIS were active. They have leverage from Khalifa being the spokesperson. And others were active. It wasn't competitive. And look at the voter turnout from that parliamentary to the presidential elections. It was kind of very close. The same thing happened in the local government. We have never had a local government election that's competitive. We have seen, because of now, with the democracy we have, how many people went to primary? It nearly broke the UDP for KMC. Because of what? And how many people came out as independent or try to be candidates for political parties? Everywhere. Banjul, Serakula, everywhere. They have how many candidates? It was competitive. But with all the turnout and competitiveness, the 300,000 votes were absent. That was 30%. Now, understanding these facts, that 300,000 votes were missing, then what the opposition should have done is to make sure the integrity of this. I kept telling you, integrity, go and make. The IEC came out, and the IEC knew this. I forgot I was meant to find out yesterday to remind me which interview Alaji Alomomanjai said that the APRC bureau, if it's not won, the election would not have been won. And someone called me and said to me, listen to this. Then the old man knew that voters were registered illegally. I said, yes, of course. Everybody knew. Because it was evidence. The evidence was out there. The IEC officers were going to Alcalo's places. We know that because nobody dared do anything. They were registering. We have seen people being transported. The whole campus of Gambia College been taken over. Schools been taken over by military bank, hosting different community, hosting people. Alcalo's hosting in everywhere. We've seen that. And it did not happen when this presidential election happened. It technically did not happen. And it went on. Yes, some people were still able to vote. Because it's not only people coming out into vote, people who are residents, who are supposed not. Now, the population of the Gambia is 2 million, but it's not mean that the eligible votes are 2 million. Now, how can we have almost 1 million registered voters? That's there tells you. And we said it during the struggle, and now we want to accept something we accept during the struggle that it doesn't add up. We want to accept it's add up. That's why I'm saying here, the absentee vote, if we look at it, it's the foreigners. And let me play this bit. I know it's not saying exactly, but to think about this. Dusano said something in interview with Pandiri Toure. And these people that have the audio, listen to the audio 1 minute 30 seconds mark. What Dusano said, what led to their failure. And make whatever you want of it, and I'll tell you what I make of it. Let me just try and get that.
Thank you very much. Let me gis nañ ne Banjul fu mel ni Banjul président Barrow win na foofu noonu présidentiel waaye bu ñëwee si député bi daanu na foofu noonu wax dëgg yàlla dinaa la yëgal rek ne loolu moom su may wax dama ne suma nit ñi nga xam ne jox nañ leen politique bi biir Banjul ñoom ñoo defut lu ñu war a def. Président Barrow boo demee nga calculer votes yi nga xam ne daal moo tegu dafa mel ni moom votam bi laaluñ leen. So gisee amount of votes yi nga xam ne ñëw nañ ñi saani loon président Barrow loolu vote boobu mu ngi tegu aside loolu moom ñooñu ñëwuñ pour saani karta li war noonu loolu nag loolu ñoomi neen loolu moo waral ñooñu ñëwuñ pour saani so loolu side boobu noonu foog naa suñu liggéeykat yi nga xam ne yaakaar nañ leen te ñu ngi leen óolu jox leen jumtuwaay pour rek na suñ gannaaw ñu mën a dem campagne defuñ ko nu mu waroon a defee ñale tam gisuñ ñu bari gisuñ seen boppa si biir politique bi foog nga yaatal ko moo kenn nit mënu ko so bu dee am nga yaay compagnie am nga youth leaders yi ak ñeneen ñi ñooñu kenn ku nekk jumtuwaay yi nga xam ne yooyu lañ leen jox jumtuwaay boobu noonu da nga leen waroon na oo ñu gis seen bopp si biir su ko defee nga wax leen ne lii moo fi accès ngir rek na ma suñ politique bi ngeen xelalante kenn ku nekk mu dem si site am su ko defee kenn ku nekk li nga capture si site da nga koy indi te su boobaa win bi nga xam ne moom lañ amoon ni kon falasi na waaye loolu moo laak man dama gis na daal liggéey bi liggéeyuñ luñ leen santa woon defuñ ko woon UDP si lañ profito si lii
liggéey bu ñu leen santa woon defuñ ko it failed. It's not easy to in the absence of the dictatorship, you see, it's not easy to enter in these things. And that's why I said before that we have a democracy. Let's use the democracy to be proactive to make sure these things are done. First thing we should have made sure we don't allow the IEC to come out to tell us that they are looking up to register almost 1 million votes. We should tell them no. Show us the statistics you're going to work with. What statistics? What's the Gambia population? And what of part of these populations are youth under 17 or under 18 at the time of elections? How many of these people, population are foreigners? We had the Senegalese ambassador said it, not us, that they have registered 500,000 Senegalese. I don't believe they got 500,000 Senegalese in the Gambia. I don't believe that. He said that. Do you know why they register 500,000 Senegalese? It's the same system happens in the Gambia, it's happening in Senegal. Probably they have 300,000 Senegalese in the Gambia, and the 200,000 are not Senegalese. These are people registered who are on the age within these boundaries, along the boundaries of the Gambia, who do come in. And we've seen that in the last election in Senegal, they're coming in to vote in the Gambia. And again, I'm going to play another video that came out yesterday of Macky Sall. And listen to Macky Sall's problem. Because of PASTEF, the Senegalese opposition, PASTEF, now are standing up to make sure that the illegal voting did not happen in Senegal. You see, this is not unique to us. Even Ghana, Nigeria are facing the same problems. The incumbents are using our social things to abuse elections. And we should not allow this. This is not about against UDP, against Ben, because Ben Star, no, I have to prove Ben wrong. No, it's not what benefits me. It's about what benefits us. If we fail to hold this government accountable, have a credible elections, it's going to create instability. Because the people, if the president and the government believe that if Gambians vote for us, or many Gambians did not vote for us, doesn't care, we will win anyway. They will not do the right thing. And if they don't do the right thing, people suffer. People suffer, it becomes social unrest and destabilization. We have to, and that's why we can see the arrogance in our leaders. From the complacency we see in the Jawara government. I'm not saying Jawara was arrogant, but we have seen ministers who were arrogant in the Jawara government. Holding Lemar, beating up people, ministers standing up, bullshitting farmers. We had that. The arrogance, it's because of they knew that the people were controlled by mechanisms of inducements. Now that turned out to Yahya Jammeh taking power, manipulating the system. Let's hear what Macky Sall have said, and we understand that.
Maintenant, Professeur Balde, président du Conseil régional de la jeunesse de Kolda, merci également. Li nga wax discrimination bobu man dama ko mettitlu. Jotoon naa si waxtaan ak ministre de l'intérieur jaaduwul ku ñëw rek ñu ne bari wala Diallo wala Mbalo ñu ne la demal nga indi certificat de nationalité alors que am nga sa carte nationale d'identité. Je pense que le ministre de l'Intérieur, s'il est là, il pourra intervenir sur ce sujet, parce que c'est un délit de faciès. Et comportement il faut absolument que nous baillons.
Senegal is about to go for parliamentary elections. And even in the local government elections, PASTEF were proactive, going round. Again, you see, yes, it might come out as discrimination, but this is our facts. And this discrimination have started well before, party politics. People have been harassed. Some of my brothers have been arrested before for permits because of they don't look Gambian. Yes, it happened. I know when you go into this, but who brief? The incumbent is the people perpetrating this. That's why when we are proactive, it's not at the election day, it's before elections. Trying to appeal to our neighbors, trying to appeal to our families. Look, don't get involved. If you really feel your Gambianness, this is the way you go and naturalize. Then you can vote. But the same people that we know, that when elections happen in Senegal, we see them in big queues. It's so competitive. Because again, Senegal is transporting people they registered underage. We have seen the pictures the other time, last in Gambia, in Bundung, underage. 12, 13-year-old been brought from Senegal to vote in the Gambia because of Senegalese ambassador is telling us 500,000 Senegalese. I don't believe it. For about 300,000 Senegalese. But this is what Macky Sall is facing through now. It's the same argument we had here before in the Gambia. Because of some people were worried that we know people who have just been given attestations and given voter cards, or given birth certificate, dodgy ones, and given voter cards. Now, if you want to ask for their nationality, they call you a tribalist. Or if you are of that tribe, they say that you hate your tribe. But I said, the Gambian I am, I don't see that tribe. I see my nationality. I see the greater good. I will stand up against anybody or anything that will take advantage to any person or any group of people. This is a fact that our system is not right. Now you look at what I mean here now, the reflection is here. They will say that voter turnout was low. It was low, but it was reasonably low if it was compared to what should be a projection. The projection of Gambia voter these things, many people have done that calculus independently. And we all agree that the elections, this thing should be at least, voter registration should be at least 600,000. Remember too, there is no country, unless in a dictatorship, where 100% of people eligible to vote will register. We can never achieve that. We can never achieve that. Unless we live in a dictatorship, not Korea, and other places that they can police that. But 100%, we cannot have that. Then if you do all the projections, people who know statistics, who understand accounting, understand numbers, will come to conclusion that Gambia cannot have 900,000 voters or almost 1 million voters. Cannot. In a population of 2 million, factoring the age limit, factoring the migration pattern, factoring immigration patterns, factoring population birth, factoring all this. If we are honest to each other, it's not about I win the debate or I don't want to be seen as or I was wrong. No. Our egos, it shouldn't be about our egos. This is about our democracy. Now, if we look at that, 600,000, 700,000, realistically, then we can see then realistically, we have had a good turnout. Then the turnout is not 51%. Another thing that Gambian did not realize or did not keep in mind is the amount of voting polling stations we have. It doesn't take a long time to vote. It doesn't take a long time to vote. The process is smooth. Once you have your card coming to the desk, been verified, and move on. If they do their job, it can be done quick. We have about 1,500 polling stations. Now, divide 1,500 polling stations, and remember again, the polling stations reflect, the number of polling stations reflect the population, registered population of that area. Then, if you do that calculus, again, see why it might look as the turnout is not good. Because of realistically, the turnout should be gauged at 600,000 to 700,000, not 1 million. Then the turnout would not have been 51. The turnout could have been almost 70 or 60 something. I think the vote reflected the realities. Due to the absence of the foreign votes, I'll give the reasons. Again, these are reasons. The facts needed to be investigated by a competent authority that we can agree on. But that's my, I'll give my reasons. But does not make my reasons as well. It's an opinion, it doesn't make wrong. Okay. If you look at that 700,000 registered voters should be taking part. You have 1,500 voting polling stations. Take the effect of Ramadan. Yes, there's an effect of Ramadan. Take the effect of people that say that the vote is rigged already, I'm not going to turn out to vote. Take the effect of the price rises. People say that, why should I vote? Nothing change in this country. Take the effect, all that. Chip that off. Probably there's a percentage of each of these somewhere. But still, it does not explain the big absence of over 40%. It does not explain it. And what only thing that can explain it is the absence of foreign voters. Is the absence of foreign voters. And again, this absence of foreign voters, why is it so? Again, we should think of the impact of challenging. You see, that's why I say challenge. Let the court disregard challenge. Go through the process. That's why we have the process. If you don't challenge something, you don't prove that the thing is not good, fit for purpose. Challenge it. You might not have the outcome you desire, but that's what democracy is. Accept it, but again, people can make judgment and evidence will come out in other ways. That's why I refuse to acknowledge the elections, and I believe it was this thing. And I did make programs, and it's all there. And explain exactly when it was happening, when people were being moved, we registered everything out. To the extent of frustrating the local government minister who was in charge of all this to come out to call me out. And when the vote came, they say, oh, it was fair and fair. I said, no. Now, the challenge was good. It made one thing, some people sit down to say, oh God, we should be careful not to take part. Foreigners within the country, we should be careful. Now this is bringing tension in the country. Their consents. You see, the foreigners that register to vote, it's not that they are bad. For them, they are looking at their interests. Yes, few people might be persuaded by fear being put in them on tribal lines. Yes, but most of these people are entrepreneurs. Yeah, they might be selling small things, but they think, now, if I go for this, this will save me paying for my residence permit. This will save me from paying my residence permit. This will make me a bona fide citizen. That's what they think. They have these papers. And now we know that, and again, the parliament should go and check that. Or opposition should check that. How much revenue did we going to lose? Let's look. You can look at many ways to find the facts. Now, these people might feel that it's better for me, I'll go and get this. It's no harm. And election day happened, and remember, the same thing Macky Sall is saying here, Ahmad was saying it, Barrow was saying it, other people were saying it. No person should interfere. Once you have your registration, you see, some of these laws, regulations were put in, the electoral listings are put in from Jammeh time. It is serving the purpose of what they do. That's why we need a total reform. That's why we need a total reform. Bro, my online. Wow, my life here. You see? That's why we should ask ourselves this. Macky Sall is saying the same thing now these people were saying. No, you should not, and you know, before even elections, registration, we had them saying it. Ahmad was saying that people can't go because some Gambians have no farmland in Gambia, they went and farmed in Senegal. So some went and married. Yes, that's how marriage happened, but not farming, that's a lie. It's the other way around. But to justify what they were about to do, we keep on pointing it out. After when they did that, they said that nobody, you see, again, it's not competent the way the registrar is put out. To go to registration post, put some this thing, no. It's not competent enough for people to verify. And because of that lack of verification to the revising courts, you see, we have to, these people put mechanisms to make it look all right. If you look into the detail, no, it's not all right. Now, because of the way it's not competent to the way it's put, the people did not go to revise. Okay, now their plan work. What they did first is, yes, they will go to the revising court. When they go to revise court, they go because xenophobia, because tribalism, they will go to the revising court. Just as Macky Sall is saying, it's discrimination. People are selected by their names. People are selected by the way they look. But if overwhelmingly people participating and have these surnames or whatever, look, we have to challenge them. We don't blame the people challenging, we blame the people bringing the system into disrepute. If the system was not into disrepute, people would not have thought about it and challenged it. That's democracy. It's not pleasant at times. But it has to be seen to be done right. We don't just see how comfortable it's or be labeled xenophobia, labeled tribalist. What we do is to do it in accordance. Not the law they do to distinguish, according to civil liberties. Know how to approach people, know how to do things. By even advocating, educating the people taking part. Can change it. You don't need to force them. You can get to their concerns. You can tell them the trouble they create in themselves. By you are making the peace and tranquility you enjoy here, the peace and tranquility, that's why you came in here, the progressiveness of this economy, you are going to undermine if you participate in this. You have no problems in this. But because of and now look at it, Gambians and foreigners, everybody in Gambia is suffering. It's not only we're suffering because of the price rises everywhere else, because of incompetency. There's no measure to deal with it. The corruption and other things. We can appeal to them. It's not only about forcing them, but we have to be vigilant. Now, due to this, fear now that now people know that we took part. If we go and take part, we might be in trouble. Or people are vigilant now, they will see us. Before, we could loop around and come and vote, nothing happened. But now, because of the noise made by UDP, the challenge made by UDP in the listing and the GDC in the courts, have ensured that now there's a lot of awareness. They're jittery among them. Another thing too, now they got what they wanted. They got the documents. Probably they thought, they got me the documents, everything. They thought that now they need to pay back. They need to go and vote. If they vote, then they are certified that they done something. Now they got their documents. Some got their ID card. Some they got, something else. Some got their birth certificate. Now they can go and apply for ID cards. Now they don't need to participate. Now they don't need to trouble themselves. You see, this too would affect their turnout. But again, when names were and pictures were published, which is public records, nothing wrong with it, public records were published, and it went round viral on different forums. Some people see themselves, and people see people they know, or people they say, oh, now we have to be careful. Our names, our faces might come out. Now, that might expose me. Let me be quiet. Mind my business. I've got my documents. I can survive now. I can show my documents that I don't need to pay for my this thing, be harassed to pay residence permit and so on. But if I go to vote, It might bring and these things, and my picture might come out. That too, I believe, it works. Then the third thing, we have seen some consequences. Because again, the greater Banjul area, and we'll come to that, and the rural, this divide. The rural areas, border villages, we have seen the vigilantism. And that vigilantism have stopped a lot of vehicles coming over and stopped people coming to vote. Actually, because again, what Dusano have said here, why is called equipment or means or resources. Resources to bring, to campaign or whatever, do things. They have not done it. That too have an impact. This is another reason why we have a caretaker government. Now, because of Barrow doesn't want to offend these people that are looking for something. Now, because of election have gone, the money evaporated now, the little they have for this campaign, they just slip on it. Price rises and everything, they have to spend it on that, rather than spend it on independently going down there, bringing people for them to vote. The motivation now, for them, complacency happen. Their mobilizers or people they give money to go and collect people, become motivate people to come out, are not there anymore because they have done their bit. I'm in presidency, and all matters for them is presidency. This too is an issue that we have looked at. It might be a reason for the lot of vote out from the foreigners. And the vigilance on the, if you look at the Jara, where we don't see a lot of vigilantism, and the borders are porous just as other places, you see the turnout. You see the turnout. And when the turnout happened, it helped the NPP. But where you see the voter apathy did not happen, which is, I said, affected due to the foreigners not voting, NPP lost. But in Jara, in Basse, where there's no vigilantism, the turnout improved, and they won. But again, they still did not win with the margin they won before. That is, again, can be explained. That's the natural thing that happened in parliamentary. Then, what happened here, the discrepancies can be explained in that manner. Now, as we said, Ibrahim Silla is trying to be intellectual here with it, and trying to spin with the question as giving reasons. He tried to give different reasons, and which is a lie. One of the reasons, he said that, oh, their votes were split. Votes were split because of some independents, and some of their people went and voted for independent. That's a lie. Why? Let's look at the vote in Serekunda West. The turnout in Serekunda West. That's why the turnout is important to diagnose. They won in Serekunda West with how much? How many independents stood at Serekunda West? What did they score? Now, if you take the score of the others, that's why I said we need to tabulate the numbers. Tabulate the numbers for UDP, tabulate the numbers for NPP, tabulate the number for GDC, tabulate the number for the others in the presidential, for the others, independent orders. You do the same thing for the parliamentary. Then if you do that, unfortunately I didn't have the, IEC did not publish this. If you do that, then you could have looked at it. And if you look at Serekunda West, the orders, if you take the UDP vote aside, you take GDC did not even have a candidate, did they? Whatever it is, take the orders and put them aside, and put the NPP and look at what they come. They did not vote. That's a lie. They're trying to spin. This another lie saying that MC Cham Jr. saying that no, even the NPP did not lose vote. The independent side NPP is a lie. That's a lie. Tumanjai is not NPP. That Njai guy in independent, the other independent in Banyan is not NPP. 2. The 5 no alliance APRC are not NPP. The reason they are no alliance is because of they refuse to support NPP. That's 7. Now, that's 7 I know. And there's another independent who stood tactically independent because of Momodou Sabally circumstance of surrounding Momodou Sabally candidature. That's 8. Now, look at that turnout. Now, where is the people he said that the one in 𝗔𝗵𝗲𝗃 might be NPP, but that person became an MP for less than 2,000 votes, or I think less than 1,000 votes. If I'm right, he became an MP for 536 votes, independent. UDP have 236, NPP have 345. GDC did not contest. The independent won by polling 536 votes. And again, where are the votes? If you look at 𝗁𝗵𝗲𝗃, how many thousand votes they won with? If you look at Sekunda, how many thousand votes they won with? Look at these thousands of votes. Now, even there was a voter turnout problem. Look at all the factors I named: Ramadan, effect of price, loss of confidence in the elections, everything else would not have mounted to this loss throughout, from Banjul to Burman Bridge. Banjul to Burman Bridge. 1. The only thing that explained it is the absence of foreigners. That I make my case. It's the absence of foreigners. Now, look at it again. Areas that NRP won, areas they won in the Salom and other places, look at the turnout. But they still win. But look at the margin. You see, we have to look at this, and I hope competent oppositions will go to the drawing board and look at these numbers and make a case and parliament to make sure IEC is purged. We need to do this. If not, our democracy will fail. Our democracy will fail. Because this is not against UDP. It will be against even any other party or any other charismatic leader that can come out as an anti-establishment. The problem Sonko is facing now, that's why they are coming as a PASTEF and the other anti-establishments are coming together to fight, to ensure that they purge the electoral register in Senegal, to stop foreigners voting. And their activities would just keep these people away. That's why Macky Sall is talking about it now, just as Ahmad Ba and others were talking about it. If we move on, I didn't want to take longer, it's gone long now. If we move on to final notes about the results, something else we need to learn from these elections. And I keep on saying this to our people. In democracy, I believe democracy to be the best. That's why it's worth fighting for. If you do it right, it's about freedoms. And there's nothing better than freedoms. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us our freedom. That's why we sin. Give us our free will. Without this free will, that's why we are creative. You see, creative people, to the extent of people that you think, not creative people don't have beliefs, or they are not. We have creative people who are Muslims. We have creative people who are different things. They have beliefs, but because of the freedom helps them to. Countries where there is no freedom, people don't create. They don't create. The reason why in the West things are possible because of that freedom. Now let's look at this. The evolution of political parties and establishing an anti-establishment, alternative or an anti-establishment. Someone made a post, and I'm going to read from my reaction to that post. I said to the person, some so-called parties, political parties, need to be deregistered. They are just existing to hustle the corridors of power. GMC, GPDP, and the PPP, NCP have died natural death. And so is APRC. And so is APRC. This is my reason. I made a report. I wrote a report I shared with interest groups, individual and interest groups. And this report was an idea. People keep on asking me, what's your thought? What's your thought? I said the best way to bring my thought out is to write a report. And from that report, we'll see things clearly. And from that report, we can find a strategy. And that strategy can be implemented. That's how you come about to have things done. And they were thinking of a political party. They wanted advice, a political party. And when I looked at it, I said, yeah, the only part, and the report was what? Well, what report I did was every political party, registered or liable to be registered, and draw it out. Try to identify the weakness, strength of these political parties, from the NPP, UDP, every party. I wrote about them, analyzed their position of strength, weaknesses, because understanding the strength and weaknesses, because these are the people you're going to compete with. As a new political party, where did you fit? If you were going to go as a political party, how are you going to position yourself to win an elections? This is what's now. From that report, draw out a strategy. And the strategy was anti-establishment candidate. It can be an independent candidate. It can be come as a political party that will, bring parties together to lead a coalition of political parties. The strategy was drawn on that. And when you look at the reports of all these parties, you see something in them. And that's what I said here. These so-called parties, I call them so-called parties because they're not party, the way they were constituted. In order to have a political party, you need certain things to be a politician or to have a political party. One, political parties should come out from movements. Let's say in the United Kingdom, we have the Conservative. It's from a movement of landowners, aristocrats, that wanted representations, because now it's democracy. Then you have the Liberal Party, which later became the Liberal Democratic Party. The Liberal Party came from socialist, industrial socialist movement. They formed their party. Then you have the Labour Party. The Labour Party came from movement of laborers, labor people, skilled, people from the unions. The union decided, look, the only way we can advance the workers' rights would be to be in politics. We cannot just sit back as a civil organization and do it. No, that's how the Labour Party came in. They have their national executive, they have powers, influence, they share resources and so on. They came out there. Now you had other parties that came up from the fringe movements. You have loony parties and everything else. But you have protest movements that evolved to be political parties. But again, sustainability, it's something we're going to talk about. In the UK, we had something like UKIP. Before UKIP, we have parties called Veritas. We have different parties. They were just fringe people or parties. What they were doing was, it's just a far-right movements. We have the far-right national parties. They didn't work. But they are working in France now. We see how competitive they are. You can build up on that. But sustainability of that is very difficult. But in UK, because of the liberal nature of people, it's difficult to build on this. People can be prejudiced, but to bring them out to show their prejudice belonging to a party is difficult. No, they have their prejudice, but they rather stay with their prejudice in order to say, but they will not come out to say that I am part of this. But UKIP became this thing, resonate because of the way it was packaged as not about anti-foreigners, it's about anti-EU, about our rights as a citizens. It resonated. But it was the minute they get undermined by a conservative, given a referendum that looking like they favor going out of the EU, they lost. That evolved. And in Gambia, PPP evolved from a movement. PPP came out from the people who came from rural background, who had association in Banjul of workers, dock workers and others, decided to evolve when the Republic was founded. They decided to look for a leader and run on that basis. But again, even in their name then, you can see the People Protectorate Party, people from the Protectorate. But after they have to evolve to be People Progressive Party, to take the word Protectorate, to have a diversity in it, to broaden their base. And that's what PPP is. You see, but again, because of the internal democracy was not maintained, it was sustainable. Other different parties came through that. UDP came through a protest to stand up to the dictatorship. It was formed by people from the PPP, people from the NCP, and civil servants who were discriminated or abused. They come together, but later the effect of the dictatorship order, it evolves to what it represents today. You see, political party evolves. But let's take it from there on. These political parties that came out, you can see how it was structured. GMC, GPDP, and later on, what the PPP came out. PPP came out as and we can see their competition between OJ and 𝗣𝗿𝗹𝗶𝗺𝗏. None of them was to lead that party. OJ knew that he doesn't have the endurance to go for leading the party, but he wants to control the party. It's lucrative to control a political party. Let's say it. Just as my party want to control a political party. We know that GMC is not a political party. Henry Gomez is not a political party. You don't even see that. The list they don't have. Even a competent executive they don't have. It's just made up. It's just made up. Now, even when what happened with the PPP, we see both 𝗣𝗿𝗹𝗶 and 𝗁, they could have, you see, it's not about being the president. The president can happen when the situation dictates that you are the competent person to be it. 𝗣𝗿𝗹𝗶 should not have even think of running as a president. Leadership is not about being the president. If they had looked at the interest of reviving the PPP, and they could have come out and revived the PPP. The PPP have a lot to go for them. They are the better government since we have had independence, for God's sake. You see, in Ghana, the Rawlings party is still going on. Because they make sure Rawlings did not own the party. They evolve. After the dictatorship, evolvement happened. Rawlings wanted the wife to run. But these people said, no, he's not powerful anymore. They can say no to him. Now it evolves. And other parties are evolving in Ghana and other places. Now, when I said that, we know the NCP is not a party. And all these things are there. They are dead. Natural death. And the APRs is going to die a natural death. Are they going to evolve? What they're going to evolve from? It's going to be difficult to... I am talking the official APRC, the two these things, we all know all those two are going to go for Barrow. They are Barrow camp. They will end up being this thing. And because they are opportunists, if Barrow decided to fail, they jump somewhere else. Then it depends on the people that vote for them. But that word APRC is going to die. Because the APR is Yajam. Now, the no alliance that says they are no alliance, they can evolve to become a political party. But the problem with that is what made them a party now is Yajam. If they disassociate themselves with Yajam, they lose their vote in Fonyi. They lose their vote in Fonyi. And again, it's just that our politicians are lazy to engage the people of Fonyi. That's why this notion that Yajam is still influencing Fonyi. Yes, it's influenced because we don't do the right thing. This government failed to do the right thing for the people of Fonyi. That's why this incursion happened. I'm not saying that the incursion should not happen. That's Senegal's problem. But there's certain responsibility the government should have done as a government. And this is what gave them the votes. We move on. I move on to say CA, NUP, and GDC are on life support machine. if a serious intervention not taken on starting a recovery in the local government elections, CA will die a premature death. GDC will progress to natural die. That's what I said. Same as the NUP would die a natural death. Because CA have not lifted yet. They will die a premature death. They have not lifted. What will make them to lift? Again, this is about sustainability, evolution of political parties and the sustainability of political party. Dr. Cisse, where is Dr. Cisse? We don't see him. Because I have a lot of friends who are CA, we talk behind the scenes. And one of the things I said to them was, I think something is wrong here. CA is saying all the right things, but I don't think it's true. There's no internal democracy here. I said, just as what is happening to UDP and happening to other political parties, GDC and others, everybody will claim internal democracy. But there's a mechanism. There are people holding this party and running this party. And they make sure the party comes out the way it's structured, the way they want it. And I give my prediction that this is your leadership of the party, and that's how it came out. I said, Dr. Cisse is going to be contesting this. I said, it's all, you can see Dr. Cisse written all over the leadership. You can see this thing written all over these people. I said, that's dangerous though. I said, you people have a nice thing going on here. Diversity, everything else you talking about, talking the talk, but I don't think you work in the work. And another thing is, I think, too optimistic of that there's already change in the people, or change can easily come onto the people. I said there's a lot of work to do. And sustainability, you have to think of the financial resources that needed to sustain a political party. And the financial resource tool is up to the leaders of the party. Are they financially solvent? Do they have to depend on contracts from government? Do they have to depend jobs from government? If they're in the private sector, are they in a private sector that they are vibrant? They can come as an opposition. This is why in Africa, opposition, certain people don't come out to show their support to opposition because it's difficult. I talked to most of them about these realities. I said, I think there's another way you go about this, and I think you should have come out from a movement and so on, and ready to sacrifice, just as we see with Passive today. I give example. But we have not seen Dr. Cisse, and it's a fact. He cannot maintain a political leadership. He needs to survive. It's difficult. And it's going to affect other people within the CA party. Now, how are they going to go forward? We don't want to lose an entity like CA. This is young people coming together, showing interest. Young people with capacity coming together, show interest. It's to advantage, it's to interest of the public to have a party like CA to come into the mix. It's not easy to sustain. And if CA want to sustain this, which is very difficult, it's going to be difficult because they will need the resources and they will need to work hard to mobilize, and this thing, they should try to identify young leaders within communities as councillors and build from councillorship to prepare for the parliamentary. Prepare to build up for parliamentary and to build up to presidency. To be a mayor, even if I was here, I would challenge to a mayoral seat. Unless they have a good candidate in Banjul. Banjul is easy to win a mayoral seat if you have a good candidate in Banjul. A good candidate in Banjul. Because we know vote is small. And there are a lot of opportunities coming to run as independent or run as independent. A lot of opportunities will come because of the gravity. Now the votes will split. Now if you have a competent person to come on a CA ticket, it's possible. It's possible. Apart from Banjul, I will not, in any big seats, all the others are big. I will not even tell you to waste your resources on that. Put your resources on councillors. And I give you an example of this. In United Kingdom, evolution, and I can go with many African countries. It's easier here to say it. when parties started, you have the conservative and the liberals. Then obviously Labour came in, the liberals lost, and the liberals reinvent themselves as liberal Democrats. You know how they revive themselves? They started to target local government elections. And they were known as the party that wins by elections. They were good at by elections. Because of they concentrate on the nitty-gritties. And they went on local government, and they have, if you have certain amount of local government in the area, councillors, they go into these chambers and they make sure they determine the leader of the borough. And in that way, that person serves one term, that person will run for parliament. That's how they started to build their parliamentary. And they started to have 7 seats, 8 seats. And they hold on to certain principles. And one thing helped them, they opposed the Iraq war. That's why for people that keep on saying, yeah, what Iraq war, why, yeah, we pro-Western. I am pro-Western against dictatorship, but not pro-Western for exploitation of Africa, no. Against them, fine. Here, the freedom, we people oppose the Iraq war. The Liberal Democratic Party came out to join the anti-war movement. And they won about 10 seats in areas that were against the war. Again, this is an opportunity, that's why I said, any aspirant Gambian want to go into politics, start at building from the local grassroots. Identify any political party that want to build a serious, sustainable party. Yes, we need financial resource. I'll come to that, but other resources, the human resource is more valuable here. Human resource can bring out the financial resource if you know how to work it out. Build that on. Build your from councillors, grassroots, and it will happen. You see, the PWIS win that seat because of their in Serakunda, because of the guy was a councillor. The guy that win independent, is it the guy that win APRC in Bundung? Apparently, I think he was a councillor. That is very important. Either activists to activism or go early in politics as a councillor. You learn, you build yourself, and you build these things, and you can go on. They should do that in order to do that. And why I said about the resources, UDP did not campaign this parliamentary election. We have not seen the mega rallies. We have not seen all that. For 2 reasons. The financial resources is not there. Or everything was spent in the presidency. That's what I believe. I don't know. I believe. But that does not mean that if they had hope that this time around in the parliamentary, the foreign votes will not turn out, they could have money. I know their members would have put in money to campaign. But no, most of their members, even activists, gave up. Or some people got wounded due to what happened in the presidency. But why I knew that most people, in fact, turn up the same day. They started to call their people, go and vote, go and vote, go and vote. The foreigners are not voting. Foreigners are not voting. Go and vote. We can win. That's helped them even to win some seats. If not, they would have lost some seats because the voter apathy was there. We have seen few campaigns, rallies, and their leaders attended few. But what we have seen is the local people walking the ground door to door. I noticed that chap that won Latikuda Savage. He was very active. I think Yaya Menteng something. He was very active. This tells us something. Financial resources is important. Look, but the politics should be local. Buy many vehicles. Running around is not cut it. Engage the people. Educate the people. Sanyang. Yaya mentioned Sanyang. Yaya Sanyang. Yeah. I can notice Yaya Sanyang activities. I can Kapiture Bakau activities and others. Mainly, I can see activities. Tumanjai activities. I know he's not duty, but I so just to say it's not. Tuma was overwhelmed by NPP money and everything, but Tuma went out there campaigning. It does that work that we need to look at. But as I said, CA, they need to look at it again. Doctor is living the realities of life now. And Gambians can easily push you. Oh, I'm going to look. You are intelligent. You are this. They might run for presidency. No, it takes a lot more than that in Africa to run for presidency. It's not only your ideas, your independence, finance, and other things will come into it. Party, look, maintain and other things. What are you? Have to constitute it right. And to be smart enough with it, and then internal democracy definitely to come out with an outcome. Sabopangaina. End of the day, it will not work out. NUP need to do the same thing. If not, they will not be normal. They just need to work the same way, because they will be out. GDC, the people that have seen my report before, I said that what GDC was doing is not sustainable. GDC was not sustainable. An opposition, you are not there to be a philanthropist to win votes. Where are you going to get the money? You can't. The government would outspend you. The government would produce projects more than you. It worked for a period, but it's not. It's about building capacity. GDC doesn't have the capacity. From their candidate, doesn't have the intellectual rigor to be a presidential candidate. That's why he only appealed to certain areas. We all see where he appeals. He has never appealed to the cosmopolitan areas that you have to win elections. If anyone failed to win the KMC win BA seats comfortably, or a certain numbers, you cannot win an election in the Gambia. It's not enough. Rural votes are not enough. These are the deciding votes. That's why I said he has never appealed to that. He has appealed to segment areas based on tribe, be the Wolof areas, be the Fuller areas. Even in Jara, the seat they have is because of tribal politics and philanthropies targeting certain communities in the Wolof areas and so on. It's easy to win those things, but it's not sustainable. The government will come and outspend you. Government come and take your intermediaries. It's about education, about engagement, about being proactive. That's what we should learn from anti-establishment, this thing, to be an alternative. I said, I move on from there on. I've took a long time now. I said, CA will die prematurely and GDC will progress natural death. UDP and PDOIs need to get working as an anti-establishment approach in becoming an alternative. Okay, people might say that why am I putting UDP and PDOIs on the same pedestal? And when you do comparisons, you have to factor certain things. They might have 2 seats, but there's still opportunity here. 2 seats, but still it's an established political party that if they do the right thing. One thing that affected PDOIs, and I said this, was their lack of participating as an anti-establishment. PDOIs could have become something else by now if they had become an anti-establishment. But instead, PDOIs was kind of, in fact, opposition to UDP rather than opposition to NPP. And this is a fact most of my friends in the PDOIs don't accept. And I said it's going to hurt you. To have a good candidate is not enough. I said you have to go after government. But I know people like Joe Sambo have written something before. And who knows Joe Sambo know how critical Joe Sambo is with anything else. and he was critical with the PDIS of certain things not done right. You have to come and agitate the government, and not only in parliament just to hold positions there. You have to this. But even the social media, everything was about this. In fact, some of them become apologists for NPP. They were even defending NPP more than NPP can defend themselves. I had that thing with some of them. I said, look, it's not a perception, it's a fact. Probably you're not realizing it, but that's not your role. Your role is to hold. I said, at the same time, if you're smart with it, you lump UDP and NPP together and hold them as an establishment, and then you position your party as an establishment. If Macky Sall can come out few years from Abdoulaye Wade government and position himself as an establishment, why can't you? Why can't you? You've been in opposition ever. You have never served in government. But until they come out to take an establishment position, to rebrand and rebuild the party and reform the party. And if I say reform, I mean, you see, we cannot have our leaders continue just to shadow everything. We will not, we have to groom. We have to groom by now. If you look at the composition, yes, I know UDP have broadened their executive, they have brought in new people, but again, you can still see a cluster of certain things in the structure. And if you look at that and the way the things operate, then you know how powerful this cluster is. How powerful Ousainou Darboe is, how powerful Sane is, how powerful Anti-Yam is, Anti-Sukai are, and so on. I am not saying that these people would have to leave the party. No. I think their roles need to change. I think they should be recognized. Just as if you look at PDIS, Halifa Sallah, Sidia Jata, Sam Sad, and others. It's the same thing. Probably even longer than, not probably, longer than UDP. It's the same structure technically. The broadening is few people just coming recently in this thing. But how impactful these people are. Does these people really even feel the law? Do they have real authority? And these things are needed to be checked. Both parties need to be realistic with this. And those reforms have to be now. Because they need to keep this momentum. What UDP have achieved, don't measure it on number of seats. Go and calculate how much did you pull. If elections was held then, would you have been a winner? Take the total votes you have, total votes NPP have. Would you have been a winner? Then that will show you your achievement. But that momentum has to be thing. And one thing that you achieve is reviving hope into your party that is possible. Because most people, I'll tell you, I'm telling you a secret here. Most of your people have given up. Say that unless election reform, there's no point. Now some of these people have wake up, have hope. Now you have to keep that momentum. How can you keep that momentum? Is consolidate these gains at the local government elections. If you do that, then the pressure will be at the executive and again your leadership in getting other people around would help to bring out the democratic reforms we need. Then when you go to elections, you will stand the chance of winning an elections. If not, we will go back to our same, or we will be divided, and the president will do whatever he wants, and elections will be stolen again. And for the PDIS, what I said, I put it this way. PDIS need to get UDP and PDIS need to get working an anti-establishment approach in becoming the alternative. This can only be achieved by instituting immediate internal reforms of the party structures and establish a system of operations that will make them control the narrative. need to control the narrative. PDIS can control the narrative and make to control the narrative if they do what they need to do. And the chance of PDIS would be to lead a coalition of political parties to win an election against UDP or against UDP and NPP. That's how they can do that. For realistically what's happening now, that's what I see. Not that other things are not impossible, but it has to be now. Just as I said, UDP have to do this immediately and consolidated by the local government. And for PDIS to buy local government, they need to do that. To wait for a Congress, you can bring your Congress forward this December rather than another two, because of it's important for people to see the change, people to see the new look, people to see the new these things. Then if you do it this December, you don't need to do it for another 2 years. That's all it says. That's what I believe. And I mean, I went on to say, UDP can consolidate in holding to their gains by doing well in the oncoming local government elections to maintain a momentum that will make it possible to stand a chance of winning next presidential elections. PDIS will have to do the same by organizing themselves to capture strategic ward councillors, to build on a momentum in gaining more parliamentary seats and possibly forming a coalition to win next presidential elections. I think that this is the natural progressions they can do. Sustainability in party politics need a strategy that follows a progressive natural evolution. There will still be a possibility for a charismatic leader to lead an anti-establishment movement that can win next elections or to be a catalyst to change. You see, again, this will bring us to SFL. Where's SFL is nowhere. Again, he was not realistic. When he came out, when he wanted to rumors, I addressed that. I said, the rumors, and I believe it's working on it. Oh no, he's not, it's rumors. I said, fine. But certain things are pointed that he's working to be a politician or to run for elections. But I think he's miscalculated or he's been misled. When he came out to be a candidate, I did a program and I did an analysis of an anti-establishment candidate, how they come about, how all these things. I did Sierra Leone, I did Guinea, Senegal, I did Liberia, and give all examples. And say that in most cases, the way he's coming out, he'll be humiliated. Don't believe the hype. He'll be humiliated, and that might just give him this. I say it's a good thing going into politics. It's good, we encourage it. But be ready for it. If ESA have concentrated on holding on to whatever he was doing from his job at the TRC, moving from there, championing the victims. If I was ESA, then the next mayoral elections, he would have run independent in Banjul. And naturally from independence mayor, then he would stand for the coming elections. And be an anti-establishment candidate. But now he's bruised. He's humiliated. And I don't think him coming back in politics. No. Because it wasn't realistic. You just don't have ambition to be a president. No, you have to go through it as a leadership, as I said. I mean, look at, be it Erdogan in Turkey and other places, be it Senegal. Why do you think Sonko is taking the risk to go as a mayor? He's trying to do something. This is natural. Why do you think he went to be an MP? You have to be in it. You have to be committed to it. To be an anti-establishment from nowhere, I don't think the impact from TRC, exposure from TRC was enough. A lot of things were distorted. The support was distorted. I don't think to look at your Facebook fan page was enough. That doesn't tell you anything. I don't think participating in some, these things was enough. Again, leadership is not about a particular individual. It's about a team around that individual. That too never reflected. That's why what we take from these parliamentary elections is we should understand what it is, diagnose it, and accept the facts. I know it would be difficult for some people, but some have, even since they've seen some of the evidence that UDP have put out there with the vote, the printout, they have seen definitely something wrong here. Not these people did not even turn up to the ballot, to the registration station to be registered. These people were registered away. I'll tell you that. I was looking at it. I knew something. This it was registered away. And IEC for doing that. IEC did that. IEC did that. That's why we have the election the way it is. Now we should consolidate on this. We should consolidate on this. Just all of points I am listening is work with what we have. And a leadership position we should take, be it the UDP to take a leadership position in parliament to bring people, parties around to work on a common good, that would for our progress. Gambia will benefit. Be it small political parties taking a proactive these things and make sure that leadership come out of it, that we have to work together. If we are divided, we fall. And the winner here would be Gambia. The loser here would be Gambia. If you want to, as I put it there, it's just a summary of, if you want to look at who wins here because of the, don't look at the number of seats. Look at the number of people that voted. Look at the turnout. Look at the margins and everything else. If the margin that Adama Barrow have in the combo in everywhere else and fail this blood, the one only thing that explains it is the illegal voting. Thank you very much. Thank you guys.